Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
There's never been a faster or easier way to start your weight loss journey than with PlushCare. PlushCare accepts most insurance plans and gives you online access to board-certified physicians who can prescribe FDA-approved weight loss medications like Wegovy and Zepbound for those who qualify. Take charge of your health and speak with a board-certified physician about a weight loss plan that's right for you. Get started today at plushcare.com/weight loss. That's plushcare.com/weight loss. plushcare.com/weight loss.
Hiring for your small business? If you're not looking for professionals on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. That's like looking for your car keys in a fish tank. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So start looking in the right place. With LinkedIn, you can hire professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/spoken today.
Hello, and welcome to Voices from the Battlefield, part of Waterloo Remembered. The next extract is read by Battlefield tour guide Robert Pocock and comes from the recollections of Cavalier Mercer. It is worth saying that Mercer's account does contain some graphic descriptions of battlefield injury.
Hello, and thank you for joining me for this Waterloo reading. My name is Robert Pocock, and many of you will know of me in recent years through my extensive Napoleonic research and particularly my little business, Campaigns and Culture, guiding some very special small group tours across both famous and forgotten parts of the Waterloo and Peninsular campaigns. For me, the most compelling character who fought at Waterloo has always been Cavalier Mercer. At 32 years old, he was by far the most junior and least experienced Royal Horse Artillery Troop commander at the battle. To his great frustration, he never served in the Peninsula, so this was truly the most memorable day of his life. In later years, he went on to become a full general, never retired, working right until his death in 1868. We know so much about Mercer because he left us with his wonderful Journal of the Waterloo Campaign. Published 2 years after his death, in 2 volumes, it describes his experience of the entire campaign, from leaving England through Bruges and Ghent, the gentle beauty of the countryside, day trips to Brussels, living in chateaux and visiting castles that still exist today. His descriptions are full of the uncertainty of the march to Quatre Bras, the excitement of the retreat through Genappe, to the chaos of Waterloo, the march to and occupation of Paris, all the time writing as a keen observer of the human experience of landscape, architecture, and people. The quality of writing really shines through. I've heard his journal described as the finest piece of campaign literature ever written, and I certainly don't disagree. Having enjoyed access to his personal unpublished diaries and the original manuscript of his Journal of the Waterloo Campaign, other letters, and uncovering the locations he describes from Belgium through to Paris, I reckon I've got very close to understanding the man from early childhood onwards. For the Waterloo 200 anniversary in 2015, I led the project to restore Mercer's grave in the cathedral city of Exeter, with the active support of the Waterloo Association and the generosity of many others, including G Troop RHA, Mercer's Troop, which proudly continues to this day within 7 Para RHA. Well, this year, 2020, is the 50th anniversary of the film Waterloo. The actor who played Mercer, Richard Heffer, and I have spent many happy days following Mercer's routes around Belgium, and you'll find a few videos of Richard describing his filming experience of the cavalry charge on the Campaigns and Culture website. Today I'm reading from Mercer's own manuscript, describing his arrival onto the main Allied ridge, the front line between two Brunswick squares. To focus on the intense experience of the French cavalry charges, I've edited out a few sections, but also included some of his words from the original manuscript that never made it to the published journal. So this is truly the first time anyone has heard some of this material in over 150 years. As we ascended the reverse slope of the main position, we breathed a new atmosphere. The air was suffocatingly hot, resembling that issuing from an oven. We were enveloped in thick smoke, the incessant roar of cannon and musketry, and could distinctly hear around us a mysterious humming noise. Cannon shot, too, ploughed the ground in all directions, and so thick was the hail of balls and bullets that it seemed dangerous to extend the arm. Our first gun had scarcely gained the interval between the squares when, through the smoke, the leading squadrons of the advancing column came on at a brisk trot, already not more than 100 yards distant. I immediately ordered the line to be formed for action. Case shot. The leading gun was unlimbered and commenced firing almost as soon as the word was given. For activity and intelligence our men were unrivalled. The very first round I saw brought down several men and horses. Still they persevered in approaching us, and it seemed they would ride right over us. We were a little below the ground on which they moved, and this gave more effect to our case shot, almost all of which must have taken effect, for the carnage was frightful. In a twinkling, the instant I thought it was all over with us, they turned to either flank and filed away rapidly to the rear. Retreat of the mass, however, was not so easy. Many, facing about and trying to force their way through the body of the column, that part next to us became a complete mob, into which we kept a steady fire of case shot from our 6 pieces. The effect is hardly conceivable, and to paint the scene of slaughter and confusion impossible. Every discharge was followed by the fall of numbers, whilst the survivors struggled with each other, using the pommels of their swords to fight their way out of the melee. Some, rendered desperate at finding themselves pent up at the muzzles of our guns, and others, carried away by their horses, maddened with wounds, dashed through our intervals, few thinking of using their swords, but pushing furiously onward, intent only on saving themselves. At last, the rear of the column, wheeling about, opened a passage, and the whole swept away at a much more rapid pace than they'd advanced. One of, if not the first man who fell on our side, was wounded by his own gun. Gunner Butterworth was one of the greatest pickles in the troop, but, at the same time, a most daring, active soldier. He'd just finished ramming down the shot, and was stepping back outside the wheel, when his foot stuck in the marry soil, pulling him forward at the moment the gun was fired. As a man naturally does when falling, he threw out both his arms before him, and they were blown off at the elbows. He raised himself a little on his 2 stumps, and looked up most piteously in my face. To assist him was impossible. The safety of everything, depended upon not slackening our fire, and I was obliged to turn from him. The retreat of the cavalry was succeeded by a shower of shot and shells, which must have annihilated us had not the little bank covered, and threw, most of them over us. Still, some reached us and knocked down men and horses. They prepared for a second attempt, sending up a cloud of skirmishers who galled us terribly by our fire of carbines and pistols at scarcely 40 yards from our front. We were obliged to stand with port fires lighted. It was not without a little difficulty that I succeeded in restraining the people from firing. The column now once more mounted the plateau. The spectacle was imposing. On they came in compact squadrons, one behind the other, so numerous that those of the rear were still below the brow when the head of the column was but at some 60 or 70 yards from our guns. Their pace was a slow but steady trot. None of your furious galloping charges, but a deliberate advance, at a deliberate pace, as of men resolved to carry their point. They moved in profound silence. The only sound that could be heard amidst the incessant roar of battle was the low thunder-like reverberation of the ground beneath the simultaneous tread of so many horses. On our part was equal deliberation. Every man stood steadily at his post, the guns ready, loaded with a round shot first, and a case over it. The tubes were in the vents, the port fires glared and sputtered behind the wheels. My word alone was wanting to hurl destruction on that goodly show of gallant men and noble horses. I allowed them to advance unmolested until the head of the column might have been about 50 or 60 yards from us, and then gave the word, "Fire!" The effect was terrible. Nearly the whole leading rank fell at once, and the round shot, penetrating the column, carried confusion throughout. The ground, already encumbered with victims of the first struggle, became almost impassable. Still these devoted warriors struggled on, intent only on reaching us. The thing was impossible. Our guns were served with astonishing activity, whilst the running fire of the two squares was maintained with spirit. Those who pushed forward over the heaps of carcasses of men and horses gained but a few paces in advance, there to fall in their turn and add to the difficulties of those succeeding them. The discharge of every gun was followed by a fall of men and horses, like that of grass before the mower's scythe. As before, many cleared everything and rode through us. Many came plunging forward, only to fall, man and horse, close to the muzzles of our guns. But the majority again turned at the very moment when, from having less ground to go over, it was safer to advance than to retire. We ceased firing, glad to take breath. Their retreat exposed us, as before, to a shower of shot and shells. These last, falling amongst us with very long fuses, kept burning and hissing a long time before they burst. Lieutenant Breton, who'd already lost 2 horses and had mounted a troop horse, was conversing with me during this our leisure moment. As his horse stood at right angles to mine, the poor, jaded animal dozingly rested his muzzle on my thigh, whilst I, the better to hear amongst the infernal din, leant forward, resting my arm between his ears. In this attitude, a cannon shot smashed the horse's head to atoms. The headless trunk sank to the ground. Breton, looking pale as death, expecting, as he afterwards told me, that I was cut in 2. My face, breast, and right thigh were one mass of blood and brains. What was passing to the right and left of us I know no more about than the man in the moon. The smoke confined our vision to a very small compass, so that my battle was restricted to the 2 squares and my own battery. As long as we maintained our ground, I thought it a matter of course that others did so too. Well, that concludes the reading from Mercer's journal. Mercer went on to describe another charge, more carnage and more confusion. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you'd like to see or hear more about Mercer, Waterloo, or the wider campaign, then please do get in touch.
That was Battlefield Tour Guide Robert Pocock reading from the recollections of Cavalier Mercer. And you can find out more about Rob's tour company, Campaigns and Culture, at www.campaignsandculture.com. Stay tuned to the Napoleonicist, where more instalments of the Voices from the Battlefield series will be released throughout the day.
Hey, it's Danny Pellegrino from Everything Iconic. Ready to upgrade your style game without blowing your budget? Check out Quince. They've got all the good stuff, shirts and polos, activewear, and fine leather goods, all at 50 to 80% less than other high-end brands. And the best part? They're all about safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing. Get that luxury vibe without the luxury price tag. Hit up quince.com/upgrade for free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's quince.com/upgrade.